Hello and welcome to another installment of the Daily Iowan Football Forum. I'm Daily Iowan TV Sports Nick Long, along with my DITV Sports colleague Tom Rogers. We got Daily Iowan Sports editor Ryan Young and Daily Iowan Sports reporter Scott Miller. And guys, a huge win for the Hawkeyes over the weekend over Penn State in Happy Valley. And before going in this game, nobody really picked the Hawkeyes to beat them, but they really looked like the better team on the field. What has changed about your outlook on this Hawkeye team?
I think before the season, it's natural for fans and journalists like ourselves to look at the season, look at the season outlook and say, well, Iowa goes to Penn State this year. They go to Ohio State. They go to Wisconsin. They go to Michigan State. They could very well lose 3 out of those 4 games. So you're kind of chalking up losses and wins as you go along, just as you're trying to predict things. And I naturally did that and kind of chalked this Penn State game up as a loss, a revenge game, whiteout, night game, nationally televised, et cetera, et cetera. Very big game for both teams, and now that they've won, they're 4-0. They play an Arkansas State team that really I don't think has a chance this weekend. So they'll be 5-0 for the first time. I don't know since I don't even know.
2 years.
Yeah, for a while. So that's kind of uncharted territory for Iowa. Now you're looking at the schedule. Could they pull it off at Ohio State? Could they pull it off at Michigan State? Probably, because Michigan State doesn't look very good right now. But that's kind of your mindset just changes, I think, as both a fan and a journalist, just how you look at the rest of the season now.
Right. Yeah, in the preseason, that's where you and I differed, was the Penn State game. I personally predicted that Iowa wouldn't lose to both Penn State and Ohio State. I wasn't sure which one they were going to beat. Right now it's like hopefully they beat both Penn State and Ohio State. At least for right now, I could probably say that the Ohio State game could still go 50-50 either way. For me, I was still, before the game, I was sold that Iowa was going to finish for sure third, maybe second in the Big Ten. Maybe Big Ten title contention. After Penn State, I'm pretty sure me along with other Hawkeye fans are pretty much relying on a Big Ten title. Since the first one was like the last one was 2004, I believe it was.
Right. Yeah.
That to me, this game just lifted the Hawkeyes from a third to maybe second to a really likely Big Ten title contender. That's basically where I would say that my season outlook is definitely higher expectations for sure.
Yeah, well, definitely. The two things that stood out to me and the things that are exciting watching that game on Saturday night is, last year, just the Hawkeyes' road woes. Those 4 games we lost by such a minimal margin. Already we've beaten Iowa State, which Iowa State, isn't a very good team this year, but that's always been a tough place for us. And Penn State, obviously, a very hostile atmosphere. We went in there. And the other thing is that this is a game that last year's team, I don't know if they would have won this game. You're watching it, it's 10-5 late. You're just thinking to yourself, okay, here we go again. Iowa's not going to have anything left in the tank, but they found a way to win. And the saying, great teams just find ways to win. And but people just can't get ahead of themselves. We're only 4 weeks into the season, and if anyone's paying attention to this college football season, it has been so wacky that anything can happen. And Iowa has a long way to go, and we just have to take it one game at a time.
Yeah, you said anything happened, and you saw your boy Tebow go down on Saturday. Before the season, we talked about those away games, talked about Iowa State, Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Ohio State, and Iowa fans probably would have been happy with 3-2 in those 5 games. But now, they're 2-0 on road games with Iowa State and Penn State, dominating both those games. In fact, I think Iowa fans, they're starting to get, a little amped up for this season. Expectations are high. So now I ask you guys, what do you see this season turning out to be? Do they run the table 12-0, 11-1? Both are great seasons, but what do you see the record being at the end of the year?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I think that Wisconsin trip is going to be their toughest, in my opinion. Michigan State, who was picked by the media, Big Ten media, to be third in the Big Ten this year, really has not looked good at all. So that might be a little easier trip than people thought. That's a night game as well up in East Lansing. Ohio State obviously still is the big one on the calendar, and I guess we'll kind of see what I think. I would have to say probably 10-2 would be my personal outlook. I think that Wisconsin trip is going to be pretty tough. It's always a tough place to play, and Ohio State too. They might stumble up there, but 10-2. I think if you would have told any Hawkeye fan before the year they're going to finish 10-2, go to probably the Capital One Bowl with that.
Somewhere in there, Outback Capital One, yeah.
Somewhere in there. So I think that's a good season in Iowa's terms. But that's just the outlook for me right now.
Right.
Yeah, my preseason outlook was 11-1 for sure. Right now, I'm really nervous for every Big Ten game, just because in the Big Ten you just never know what team is gonna just come out of nowhere. Michigan State could look really bad, and then all of a sudden they just have an amazing game, and just upset somebody who's supposed to be in title contention for the Big Ten title. I mean, for me personally, I am still wary of Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State, the 3 big road games. But I mean, Northwestern at home, that I'm really not feeling good about that, just because Northwestern kind of has our number for the last couple of years. Minnesota for Senior Day, that could potentially be a pretty tight game too. I mean, right now I love that Iowa, is getting all this love and number 13 and whatever. But even Arkansas State, it's just I'm really just preparing myself for when that upset's
Right.
gonna come.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's talking about the road trips, and like the, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State. But let's not forget, Iowa's lost their last 2 homecoming games to Indiana and Northwestern.
Yeah.
And, I mean, this year they have Michigan, a team that people, are maybe they're a little overrated after they escaped Indiana on Saturday. But, they're still playing with a lot of confidence, chip on their shoulder. I mean, you and I almost beat the Hawkeyes in Kinnick Stadium. I mean, Kinnick Stadium is a very tough place for visiting teams to play, but the Hawkeyes aren't unbeatable in there. And, I mean, like, it's always tough to go on the road no matter how good you are. But you also have to take care of business in your own backyard, too. I see the Hawks losing only 1 or 2 games at the most, but still, I mean, you just got to take it slow. We're still early in the season here. People have every right to be excited about this team, but you got to take it slow.